Technically, it's not a game, but yeah, it's pretty difficult.
Technically, it's real life. You're funny. You're funny. Funny guy. Funny guy. I want to discuss Enneagram 7 with you.
People think the SP7 is a century subtype of the 7,
Yes.
which is why so many people type it as SE dominance. However, the SP7 is still a 7. They still have the idealism that all 7s inherently have.
Yes, indeed. Which is obviously they're a head type. And it's about mental gluttony as much as it is sensorical for the SP7. But so you don't think an SE could be an SP7? You believe there's no way?
It seems the conservation 7 still seems too idealistic to be an SEE. But
Okay.
it would definitely not be the archetype.
Yeah, because there are some examples. Like, have you seen like the Wolf of Wall Street?
I don't think so.
But this guy, he's played by Leonardo DiCaprio, and I was thinking maybe he might be like an example of the type.
One good example of the SP7 that I know of in fiction is Jim Moriarty from Sherlock the show.
I know, yeah. I know that guy, yeah.
Like he literally, yes, not only is he a charlatan, but also he fits the very structure of using gluttony as a means of ego protection, using a large family to protect himself, and this gluttony is sent into the intellectual realm through fighting Sherlock. Like I don't understand why he was mistyped as an 8 for so long. Like,
he was,
8,
yeah, he was.
Sexual 8 is literally a joke for him.
Or you're stuck between both types. Ask yourself if you are attached to the mental side of things. If you are indeed a geek, and if you are geeking a lot, there's a lot of mental focus, mental energy, and your satisfaction is more primarily based on mental gluttony, you're probably not an 8 core, because with an 8 the stimulation would be much more visceral and much more physical, and also again very externally focused on the present here and now. So that's a tip for you guys when it comes to telling the difference.
The SP7's mental gluttony is put into the id, so it is the most. So the SP7 is the most likely to want. It's still charlatanistic in nature, but its charlatanistic nature is more set into personal freedom, intensity, if you must, because the sexual instinct. The sexual 7 also, people think that the sexual 7 is some kind of manic pixie emo.
Yes, yeah, that's how I imagined them. Non-binary flying helicopter, that kind of thing.
And yeah, people commonly mistake them for they're commonly mistyped conservation 2s.
You acting weird. You acting sussy. You got some bitch out there or something?
I have no bitches.
That you made me laugh. You are good at making me laugh. I don't know what it is about you, man. It's like the FE suggestive. Cracks me up, It's the funniest thing ever. So how do I tell the difference between a sexual 4 and a sexual 7? Like, if they are both spurgy monkeys.
The thing about the sexual 4 is that the sexual instinct just makes them more intense. It makes the 4's ego. The 4 is a more melancholic type.
Okay.
And it's also a frustration type, so yeah. Since the 4 is melancholic in nature, the sexual instinct tends to make this melancholy more prominent on the sexual 4.
So basically, I need to expect a person who cries even more, and they throw in even more tantrums. Basically, that's what you're telling me.
Yeah, it's also based on for things that they don't have. Things they don't have are things they lost within themselves. As a means of attempting to cope by interjecting into other people, by interjecting ideal traits onto other people, which makes them envious of other people.
So would you say a classical determining factor is the negativistic nature of 4 and the positivistic nature of SX7? Would you say that would be a good enough of a differentiating factor?
That'd be the simplest. That'd be the most simple.
Yeah. And you know me, we like to keep it nice, clean, and simple.
Also, completely different coping mechanisms as well. Introjection in the 4, essentially putting ideal traits in somebody else.
Okay.
Find the ideal love in another person is very much something a 4 would do. And then envy would be they want something that they don't have within themselves. It's internal and external at the same time, while the sexual 7 tends to attempt to rationalize.
Yeah, because rationalization against a head type thing, it's one of the ways that 7 deals with things, right? Rationalization and that's kind of one of the coping strategies for a 7. So this makes perfect sense. Okay.
Okay, so after watching the show, I see a whole lot of I see a lot of 4 traits. Very much attachment. So yeah,
Yes. Throwing
she
tantrums, being a fucking baby, being a toddler.
yeah, she's very easy to mistake for a 7 in general because yeah, she
Yes.
seems like the ADHD type of
Yes.
character.
She seems very chatty, very extravagant, very like almost childish and playful and extroverted. But
But this
those are still traits of a sexual 7, right? I mean, those are the traits I've read in trait structure.
yes, I don't really see much charlatanism within her.
Identity, shame, feeling like she's lacking something, feeling like she's not good enough, feeling like she's that black sheep
Yeah,
of the team, and always
sure.
wanting to impress Vi and get the love and the validation from Vi. I did not
Yes,
see
that's
anything else other than that. That was like the core component of. And when she was growing up, we also see hate, anger, resentment being aimed, and a lot of jealousy towards Caitlyn. So there's that.
and the thing is that even social 4 would fit better for even social 4 fit better for Jinx than
Then a
sexual 7.
7? Yeah. Okay,
Like
okay.
social she's literally living in a society, so she must be a social 4.
Funny guy. But okay, so in this new age thing, there are many people who are arguing that even EIE doesn't fit sexual 4 and that ESI fits sexual 4. What is your personal what what is your what's your personal take on this?
That's just laughable. Like he's
Yeah.
serious. Like seriously, a type that is a left spinning type in socionics, a type that is FE ignoring.
Yeah, if you ignore, yeah.
Like
Okay,
what
I'll
a
tell you
jerk.
this. Okay, I'll tell you why. The
Why?
reason for this is that they say, well, SX4 is a personal. It is about having personal likes and dislikes and personal hate towards other people. And the EIE doesn't care about what they feel about other people because they're FI ignoring. That is the exact thought process that those individuals are giving me.
To be fair, that's a very underdeveloped argument to say the
That
least.
is, to me, that seemed very oversimplified and basic.
Yeah, it's just not it doesn't really make sense because think about the sexual force tendencies to externalize.
Exactly, right? Externalize emotions and what about the tendency for ups and downs and constantly adapting to the environment in that way and expressing themselves, either with euphoria or depression or anything else in between. I would not expect an FI base to be as chaotic in their emotional realm, especially with their expression. It just doesn't fit FE ignoring. Like I don't care what you say, that doesn't fit FE ignoring.
Yeah, ESI generally fits better with the conservation for.
I
Considering,
agree. I agree, though. That makes perfect sense to me because okay, but even if you use basic logic, don't you see the problem here? The archetype of SP4 is being considered to be ESI, but at the same time, you're saying the archetype of SX4 is ESI. SP4 and SX4 are completely opposite in their expression. Yet ESI would be the archetype for both. This doesn't
yeah,
make no sense. It doesn't make sense, right? Like if it breaks logic here. So
because ESI is when vengeful.
ES,
That's how people think of it.
no,
But then when you think,
yeah, exactly.
let me explain let me
Yep,
explain this. So one thing about EIE's FI controlled is that they tend to commonly preach their values and they tend to preach their likes and dislikes to the external world using FE
right,
instead of FI.
right.
So yeah, people think that FI is very much oriented on having strong likes and dislikes. However, they keep it internalized. They keep it to
That's
themselves.
what I'm saying. This expression is not outward, right?
And F
It's
yes,
it's inward.
and FI bases can commonly appear like FE breaks. Like they can commonly be mistyped
Yes.
for ILIs and SLIs.
So here we are. Now we are in agreement because an ESI and FI base will appear much more cold and externally as not as accessible. That's just how it goes, man. Like I know I've seen FI bases. I'm FE mobilizing. and if I compare myself to someone like an FI base, I will seem much more like expressive. It's not even comparable. So they're actually, of course, that's the nature of the type. But I think people twist what FI. Bro, those people were making comments saying Jinx is an ESI. It's like, do you even understand what FE ignoring is? Do you even have any fucking grasp on that shit?
Where are her gamma values for one? Her gamma values.
Yes.
If I was to look into a gamma value, if I was to find her gamma values, it'd probably be somewhere in a black hole. And even by then, I probably would just be ripped into atoms. So yeah.
No.
She has 0 gamma values.
Exact is 0 gamma values. She has 0 delta values. So she's not. Why would she be an IE? She's not a sexual 7. So what is going on? So I agree with you on this one. Okay. Now let's proceed to the next one, and it's gonna be social 7. It's a type that I have a difficulty understanding in sometimes, because on one hand it is this type that is very intellectually superior, on the other hand is the savior. What is the truth here?
Well, the thing about the 7 as a whole is that they're obviously head types, and people thinking that they are saviors makes them seem like social 2s.
Yes.
Because the entire description of the social 7 being as some kind of savior seems like it's out of a need for pride, to flatter people, rather than a need to gaze intellectually into the world around you via the social instinct. It's like, think of the social 7 as like as a chakra, like Ashna, or even Svedasana, the very top one, 1,000-petaled lotus. Think of it like that, since the social 7 is quite like the crown, the brand of the human mind. Yeah, and the social 7 is actually more like, if you want a more legitimate social 7 description, think of the mistyped ENTP5s.
Okay, so that's the that makes sense. Like an ILE SO7, that's what you were thinking, right?
Yes, even the EIE social 7 with
EIE SO7.
Accentuate TI.
Yeah, because it makes perfect sense. Obviously, it is a head type, but it is known overall as a very intellectually narcissistic type, right? So
yes.
So how does this like counter type of SO7 works? Do they like deny their gluttony? How does that manifest anyway?
Well, people are saying that the social 7 denies gluttony is kind of a lie, because why would the social subtype of a head type be a counter type though? That just doesn't make any logical sense to me at all.
Okay.
In fact, it seems kind of illogical, because if you break down the social 7 to its main components, you realize the social 7 is not a counter type at all, but it still uses gluttony, intellectual gluttony. Meanwhile, not physical gluttony, not sexual gluttony, just pure intellectual gluttony.
So basically, imagine like a polymath who always just dwells in every new information, always gathering new stuff, always exploring novelty and ideas and stuff like that, and plans and all of that, right?
Yes. In fact, I think that Aishaso's description of the 7 is very much fitting with the social 7 in general.
Okay.
High idealism, totemization, similar to that of the social 5, except it's gluttonous instead of avaricious. So they indulge in this sort of intellectual high point, like some kind of god.
Have you read Naranjo's SO7 book?
I haven't really read any of Naranjo's books yet, except for the subtype descriptions. But yeah.
Well, you should. Oh my god! How? I'm surprised. Why would you, the master geek, not read the books? How?
Because I formulate my own theories about how this works.
No. That's not what we do. No. No.
At least.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's the geekism. You're engaging in the fucking Gulenko geekism right now.
At least it's not. At least it's not Dick writing on Risa Hudson.
Oh my fuck! If you were Dick writing Risa Hudson, this conversation wouldn't even have a fucking beginning.
Good point.
I wouldn't talk to you. I would make fun of you. You need to read the books. You need to read the Naranjo books. I thought you read the books. You didn't read the books.
It seemed like I did.
See, you LARPed. You cosplayed. I can't believe you cosplayed. I'ma retype you to E. Yeah, you actually cosplayed. What?
I didn't even cosplay. I just mainly studied Tajasso, and then interpreted my own way.
Ah, yeah, it reminds me, very much reminds me of flat earthers who fucking have their own interpretations of the world around them.
Because people think the one is inherently moral.
Okay, let's talk about Enneagram 1. Let's go.
Because people seem to think the Enneagram 1 is inherently moral. They want to be good people, blah, blah, blah.
They want to do the right thing. Yes. They don't want to be corrupt.
That's either very head-oriented or image-oriented, because a 1 would not want, because a 1 would actively seek to do it based on resentment and not based on the need to appear as good. Because what they're implying is that the 1 wants to appear as a good person.
Right, which does seem more like an image type, right?
Yes, a 3. Or a 2 even.
Because you want to be seen a certain way. So that's a no-go. So, how would you say is one course mentality when it comes to morality? How do they actually view morality?
They view morality through an external lens. As in, through external laws, external systems. But not like a 6.
Okay,
because
so...
6,
yeah, what's the difference here?
So a 6 would tend to do this out of insecurity, out of uncertainty. I need to solve a case in the external world. While a 1 already knows this. Well, 1 already has confidence in their systems, in the external systems, and they use it as a means to cope with resentment.
Okay, so there is a clear differentiation. Would you say it's fair to say that maybe Enneagram 1 would be more like an extroverted thinking type, while Enneagram 6 more like an introverted thinking type?
Precisely.
We think and alike. I love it.
Yes, and then people also deny Enneagram 1 LSI. I've noticed that trend as well.
That's a bit too much. That's a bit too much. That's where it goes too much. I would obviously never deny that combination, and that's crazy.
It's external, as in it's not really generally accepted, but it's based on external metrics.
So things you can measure much more in the external world.
Yes, things that you can see. Things that you see as problems with it.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
Because remember, a 1 is a frustration type.
Yep.
That's one because people seem to think a lot of people focus way too much on trait structure and way too little on their commonality with other Enneagram types.
Makes sense. So like a good example of that would be like someone like what? Gordon Ramsay going around correcting people based on his formula of perfect food that he has established. That's what it would be like.
Yes. In fact, I've argued for him being a sexual 1 in the past.
I do agree with that take. He is a sexual 1 in my opinion.
137 prefix.
Yeah.
I don't really use anymore.
Wait, you don't use what anymore?
I don't really make arguments on trifix anymore, per se.
Why not?
I just don't really find that to be too relevant in terms of arguing for a person's character, but it does hold some importance.
Okay.
And yes, and NI dominant Enneagram 1. There's this one guy on this personality database that keeps on spreading the false myth that Enneagram 1s that NI dom is archetypal with Enneagram 1, and so is ILI. Like, that user actually makes me laugh.
But can we agree that ones are, since they're a gut type, like logically, since they're a gut type, they are much more grounded, they're gonna be much more concrete, and they're gonna be sensorical. Would you say that is true?
Yes, I could say that, but I also see that 1s can be idealistic at times as well, especially the vehement sexual 1s, as I made my description of it.
When you're saying can be idealistic, does that mean they can be an intuitive type? In MBTI, for example.
Intuitive auxiliary at highest, but no more. But definitely not intuitive dominance like some people think.
Well, obviously, no, and I would never think an I-Dom would make sense, any sense with an SX. And, okay, an I-Dom, okay, and what Jung type would they be? Introverted in intuition, one core? Like, come on, you know what?
That's a joke, actually. It's
confusing, though. People... Those weird combinations make no sense once you take into account Jung. Your Jungian type You type as a 1 core, but you type as a fucking INTJ, and you also type as an introverted intuitive feeling. Introverted intuitive type. Well, like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Bro, come on,
It
be
really
real.
like it really doesn't, because to be fair though, the introvert intuitive type doesn't really gather external standards at all. Rather, they're in subjective visions. They stay within one's own mind. They're not really
Yes.
spoken because they're completely spontaneous.
Yes. Man, it's just crazy how those people form those opinions. Like, genuinely, some of them make no sense. And it's a simple, like a logical thing, like a logical consistency. Just be consistent. Just be a bit consistent, and you'll see it breaks. All those weird combinations break. And those people don't want to change them because it's like an attack on their character. You're attacking their character because it's their combination. Like, come
Well,
on, bro.
they need to learn. Well, they need to get older. They need to grow.
I do agree that they need to grow and understand that
I
socionics
don't.
typology is not supposed to be personal. Although some people disagree with me. They say, no, of course it's personal. It has to do with your personality. And I'm like,
Not
it's a
exactly.
system. I mean, it's a system in which you categorize different aspects of your personality in a very impersonal way. I don't view that as very personal system personally. You know, personal system personally. La 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 la.
All rational types can be moral. That's what people think. Because when people think the extrovert thinking type on personality database, they think of some kind of immoral person who'd stab people in the back.
Yeah, well, extrovert thinking
Yeah,
type. Well, they
yeah,
also think of someone who just pushes everyone around. Well, they also oftentimes think it's an 8. They imagine an 8 core for some
yeah.
reason, for some strange reason.
When they're the only thing they're really describing in that T being T is when pushy is just SLE. It's just SE bases.
That's exactly it. Yeah, I mean,
Like,
also, or like maybe sexual one being pushy when trying to correct the environment or something. Yes, but it's come on, man.
but yeah, extrovert thinking types are actually very moral. They're
Yes,
they're
yes.
just like every other rational type in Carl Jung's psychological types are all moral based.
Mm, mm. I'm
It's
learning
like
something new. That's good.
yeah, and it's just like how irrational types are not really they're amoral in nature.
Yeah,
They don't
yeah,
inherently
yeah.
focus on morality. That's the
Yeah.
problem with NI dominant one, for instance, because it's amoral.
Well,
And people think
because a lot of the
and
morals and a lot of the principles are based on rules and certain principles that you want to uphold, certain standards, right? And if
yes.
you are like an extrovert sensation type, you don't really live your life trying to make sure everything's up to par in standards or principles all the time. It's not your main concern. Same for an IDOM, you know?
Hmm. And then you have the self-preservation one, which I think is a pretty butchered subtype of the one.
Go
People
ahead.
because yeah, people think the conservation one is a very warm type. A lot of what people think of when they think of the conservation one is cowardice. Cowardice in the form of a 6 core.
So basically, in your opinion, the worry, the anxiety, all of that is not really a good trait of SP1. You wouldn't really look
No,
at it like, oh, that's an SP1 trait.
not at all. In fact, I view it as a more phobic social 6. Phobic, hence.
Makes sense. That makes sense. Okay. And what
And
do you
yeah,
think of? What do you think of? Because I don't believe in like LII SP1. Like, but I've seen some people still identifying with that. What's your take on SP1 LII or SP1 EII? How do you
oh,
view SE Polar and one core?
well, for one, alpha values in the conservation one don't even make sense at all. Very much over. Very. I see LSI making a lot more sense than
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
because they tend to be very hard. They tend to apply pressure on themselves rather than on the external world as a means of defense rather than offense.
Yes.
It's a
And
means
what
of
about
self.
EII?
No, 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 no,
Yeah.
no, no.
Cringe.
That is
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
That combination will die.
Well, hopefully we will eliminate from this earth. I'm still eliminating ENTJ8, and from time to time I get people ENTJ8s get very upset at
Yeah.
me, and I'm telling them it's okay. We will eliminate you. It's fine. Just it's gonna be painless. I promise it will be painless. We will erase you from history. It's okay.
Yeah. A lot of them
I
are just
cuddle them. I cuddle them. I tell them that they're sweet, that they're okay, that everything's gonna be okay. I'm here. Daddy's here.
mm,
And it's okay. No, man. Yeah, I'm joking.
Was that he wanted to make him he wanted to make himself the Flash because he saw it as a source of strength for himself.
Yes.
He wanted to be the hero of all things.
Yes.
He
Well,
wanted to
that
be the
sounds.
hero.
That's SX6.
Yeah,
Yes.
sexual 6 hero complex. Very intellectually oriented,
Yes.
but not very intimate. And then the line where he says, "I'm the hero, Flash. I'm the hero. You're the villain, Flash."
Well, of course.
I'm
Yeah.
the hero. You're the villain, Flash.
Yeah, the corniness. Yeah, the corniness. Oh, yeah. It's corny, you know. Oh, yeah, I'm the hero.
Yes.
No, you cringe. No one likes heroes, bro. At least be an anti-hero. If that's the only thing you got being a hero, you're boring. I'm sorry, you're boring.
I'm more of a sci-fi guy.
Makes sense. No, I mean I don't dislike sci-fi. I like, for example, Star Wars. I was like, when I was growing up, I was huge into Star Wars. Oh my god, I love Star Wars. Yeah. So obviously I wanted my dream was to become a fucking Sith Lord when I was a kid. You know, that's me. I never was like, oh, I want to be a Jedi. Why? Okay, Sith Lord is literally ENTJ. That's me. Exposed. No, but listen, Sith Lords literally are more powerful. They unlock more power. Why would I want to be a Jedi? That doesn't make any sense. So naturally, as a kid, I was thinking, I want to be a Sith Lord. I want to have a red lightsaber, not a blue one, because I ain't gay. And that was my mentality at that point.
Yeah, one thing about the social ones is that they're also they're commonly social six. They can commonly be mistaken for social sixes.
Would you say that SO6 is conflated with SO1 specifically? That's like the most common mistype between both types?
Yes,
Okay.
that and 5.
Okay, makes sense. We talked about that. We talked about the 5 and 6 dilemma, so it makes sense. So, SO1 and SO6, how do you differentiate them?
The social one is already confident in what they know. They're already confident in their social superiority. They resent things in the external world, which is why they act superior.
So there's not much overthinking, there's not much questioning. They just know the truth, and they're quick to spew it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so read my Enneagram subtype descriptions that I wrote myself.
I'm gonna link your profile in the comment section so people can see it. That's what I'm gonna do.
All right.